Are you a Marvel fan or do you love your horror movies? Well, just in case if you're one or the other, I have both of you covered today. I'm going to do a movie review on Guardians of the Galaxy and on Insidious, The Red Door. Hey, Jason here. If you've been watching the channel, you've been seeing me go through Joburg, showing you how beautiful it is here, man. I'm starting to wind down to my last days in South Africa. It has been a blast, and I have loved each moment that I've been here. And most importantly, you've been seeing me talk about success, what it is, and how to get it in the three areas of life that I focus on, which are happiness, health, and wealth. And if you're new to the channel, the definition of success is the progressive realization of a worthy idea. And that's by Earl Nightingale. And happiness, man, just finding happiness in everyday things is a very worthy idea. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. And so, if you've been watching the channel, you've seen me talk about how losing my late wife CC last year unexpectedly, to using this past year of just really growth and healing and developing and working on myself. And a part of that healing process is learning how to regain fun in the things that you used to do. So one of the things I used to love to do was watching movies, and it's one of the things that we love doing together. So after losing her, it's been hard to watch movies again, and so I've been slowly getting myself back into that, getting myself back into the enjoyment. And I just want you to see also there's levels to healing, there's levels to grief, there's levels to happiness. Don't think things are just this or that. There's degrees and there's levels to it. It's like taking steps. And just because you may be in a place where you're not happy right now, it doesn't mean you won't be happy a few days from now. Because if you would have told me this a year ago that, hey, you'll be watching some movies, having a good time and laughing, I wouldn't have believed that. And you know what? It took me a while to get there, but it was worth it. And so I just want to be very honest about that. And that's how I use the acceptance commitment therapy. It's one day at a time for me. I always apply that to my life. And so let's get into first Insidious. So I'm a big fan of horror movies. I used to love those after dark, B-rated horror movies. And so I've seen a lot of horror movies, man, a lot of horror movies. I've probably seen over 100 some horror movies, from Korean, Japanese. I think I even seen some Bollywood horror movies. I'll watch anything that's horror. However, Insidious, man, it's Insidious. When Insidious first came out, it was ahead of its time, originality. It was they took it to the next level because when horror movies got stale with the Jason X and things like that. And so, when Insidious first came out, it was a shockwave to the horror movie category, and so it really regained my interest in horror movies. However, man, Insidious, as they kept going and kept going and kept going, and now we ended up at the Red Door. I hope this is the last movie they make, and I mean that respectfully. If they're not going to revamp it, tell a new story, if it's going to keep me in the same family, I would just say let this be the end. It ended in a good way, without telling much of the story. Because the plot was so basic and so it was underwhelming. Nothing was really that much of a surprise. It didn't make much sense of why people wasn't remembering things. The father and one of the sons couldn't remember what happened 10 years ago. So a lot of it just didn't make sense, and it felt like a very jumbled storyline. So I really hope that they just stop making Insidious movies after this if they're not going to tell a different story and use different casts, because the way it's going right now is just, it's the same thing over and over again. It's you're astral projecting, you're going to the other side. Yes, you're getting stuck behind. It's how many times we're going to keep telling that story with the same people? You got to learn from your lesson eventually. And so, yeah, Insidious, man, so I want to start a rating scale too, give it up to a 0 to 5 chains. And I give it 0 chains. I was very underwhelmed. I didn't like any of the storyline. Just nothing made sense in the movie. I feel like that movie was, I think there's a writer strike going on now, but I feel like that movie was written, the plot was written when the midst of the writer strike was starting to talk about it, because you could tell it was like it felt like too many people hands were on it. Like one person just didn't draw out a full concept of what they wanted to tell in that story. So I give it zero chains. I don't recommend Insidious, and I don't even want to. If I say anything about the plot, like I gave you the whole plot, like so that's why I'm not even saying anything about it. But if you've seen it, let me know what you feel about it. Maybe other people saw things in it that I didn't see, and I would love to hear your perspective on Insidious. So let me know. I give it zero chains. Let me know how you rate it. So now let's get to Guardians of the Galaxy, man. I got to give it to Marvel. I haven't watched a Marvel movie since in Avengers Endgame. Well, actually, no, I've watched. Let me see. We watched Endgame. The last Marvel movie we watched was, I think, no, the last Marvel thing we watched was the Scarlet Witch series. So like, because me and CC both were big into Marvel, and so we that was the last one we watched. So since then, I haven't watched anything. I did watch. Well, I take that back. I did watch Doctor Strange 2, I think it is. However, I don't remember. I wasn't in the mind space to where I was appreciating it, so I have to go back and watch that again. I'll be honest with you. However, watching Guardians of the Galaxy, man, and as this is my first reintroduction into Marvel, man, it was really good. This was a really good movie. I was worried for 2.5 hours, seeing it was going to be a 2.5 hour movie, but it was worth every 2.5 hours. Like with Insidious, even though I'm watching it free, streaming it on a website, I felt like I paid too much for it. Guardians of the Galaxy, I'm like, man, I got to go see this in the theater with some popcorn and just sit there and watch it on the big screen. It was a really, really good movie. DC, man, y'all writers need to learn from this. Like the thing that I loved about this, like they waited now to really show the development of characters such as Drax, Mantis, even Nebula, and so like that was really, really cool. And even you saw the complexity in Groot. Like even though he just says I am Groot, like you saw the complexity in not only what he's saying and how they're interpreting him, but like their relationships, the emotional spectrums. It was a really well written plot, and especially coming from after Endgame, like so much things were just making everything was just making sense. It was really great. I'm trying to give away any spoilers. Also, it was cool seeing the cameo of Howard the Duck. Like I'm a big fan of Howard the Duck, so it was real cool seeing that cameo. But like the storyline, so essentially Rocket is in life-threatening conditioning, so they got to figure out his past. So you're really understanding why Rocket is Rocket and why he has that chip on his shoulder, who he is. But you get to see also like how smart Rocket is. Like Rocket is very, very intellectual. Like he's a beyond genius level thought processing. And so you really got to understand who he is as a character and like really get to understand, really you just fell in love with him. And it was amazing seeing his story being told the way it was. And at the same time, you're seeing the flaws of each of the Guardian of the Galaxy and how they're understanding better of who they need to be as a person. So it was like each individual Guardian was going through their own self self analysis in a way to say they were each analyzing themselves and starting to see where not only where their shortcomings are, but why they were having those shortcomings. So like Peter started realizing like he came to like he didn't say it verbally, but you see that he came to the conclusion that he stopped at an emotional level of growing at 8 years old when he was taken from Earth. So like think about like as great of a thief he is, he's doing it at the thought process, the emotional thought process of an 8 year old. So now he's realizing he has to start growing up. And so you see a cutscene at the end of that where you see like his level of comfort, his emotional thought processes at a way higher level than that of who he was before, especially when he was first introduced to us in the first Guardian of the Galaxy movie. So I'm really interested to see how Star-Lord is going to actually progress into who he's going to become now, because I think he's going to become a real big badass, and he's going to excuse me, and you're going to start seeing like how this dude is really more powerful than what he's been putting out. Like he's gonna really step into who he is. So I like that process. I like also with Nebula, she's starting to see more of her humanity side and not just her cybernetic enhancements. That was really good character development. Drax, man, their character development with Drax and how they showed how complex he is. Like I really love that. And this is one of the things that I love about Marvel. They do these little subtle ways to hint to the comic. To, I feel like the comic book people who really fell in love with these stories in the comic book years, because how he was able to understand this language that these kids were speaking and no one else could understand it. It shows you how complex of his intellect is. Like Drax is actually really intelligent. He picks up multiple languages very, very easily. But also it showed that he wasn't born to be Drax the Destroyer. He became Drax the Destroyer because of Thanos. And so like I really love that part because even Nebula realized that his real calling was to be a father. Drax never wanted to be this destroyer going around killing people and stuff like that. He wanted to be the father for his daughter. And so I really loved how they put that in the storyline. And, they showed how Groot is just a badass, man. Like Groot, they really showing you how Groot is becoming and becoming into himself, especially as he's growing more into I think he's now going adolescent Groot, I believe in this one. So that was really cool to see too. The storyline, it was great, man. It telling how they told you the backstory of Rocket and brought in the oh man, the high, I forgot his name right now. Man, I can't believe that. The high, let me know in the comments if you can remember his name. The high, man, I can't remember his name, but pretty much the black guy who's the villain of the film. Man, that's really bothering me. Let me know in the comments what his name was. But showing how his relationship with Rocket and how it was really good, man. Like, and then seeing the ending of it and seeing how they did the comic book accurate part by showing his face, how after Rocket messed him up. That was really cool to see. I was wondering how they were going to do that. And now I will say this: some of the things I didn't like about it. I didn't like the Grimoire's parts yet. Like I feel like she should have been way more distant, or even probably a little bit more non-existent in this one. Just because this Grimoire isn't the one that fell in love with Quill. She didn't fall in love and do all of these daring adventures with the Guardians of the Galaxy. So she should still be that hardened assassin killer type Grimoire. At least that's what I was expecting. But I did like in the end that she didn't leave with the Guardians, because I felt like her home should be with the Ravengers, and I liked how they showed like how they embraced her. How you can tell she has built a family with them. So I thought that was really good. Cause I don't want them to rush like some kind of love scene or get her and Quill back together. I felt like that would have just been just wimpy storyline. But I did like that they made her end up going her own. The other thing I liked is go back to one of the other things I like. It wasn't much I didn't like. I'm gonna be honest with you, because the way they told the story, and I'm not even telling you half of the stuff that was in the movie. So many other characters, so many other plot developments. Like, let me talk about like Mantis. It really showed how powerful Mantis really is, and each and every Guardian of the Galaxy actually. It showed you how either they had super level intellect, like Quill's a super level strategist. Drax, he understands languages at a level that nobody else does. But Mantis has showed too, like she can affect the emotional spectrum to where even out of control beast will calm down and become her friend, and they'll actually fight for her. And so like that was really cool to see, because you're seeing her display more emotions than just this happy alien type person who was working for ego. She's showing that she does get angry now. She does have feelings towards others. She is a little cynical. She can be a little judgmental. So like now that she's understanding her emotional spectrum on a wider level, you're seeing her powers grow more and more to where she don't even have to physically touch you all the way, just being more in a closer physical barrier or presence. She's starting to be able to affect their emotional. So I like seeing how they're evolving her powers. That was really cool. And even with Nebula, how she seeing her relationship with Rocket, the way she cared about Rocket, that was really nice to see because you can tell Rocket really cared about her, and he's been enhancing her and making sure everything's better. But you can tell like he's doing it in a place of love. So like if you remember Nebula character, like she didn't like her enhancements because it was painful, it was torture. But now that she was proud to admit, like, hey, these new enhancements are from Rocket. That's my friend. He's been doing this to help me. So that shows you, like, he's showing her a level of compassion and love that she never experienced with Thanos. But you understand why he's showing that type of love and compassion based off what he had to go through personally with the High, not Inquisitor, man, the High. Let me know in the comments, man. I can't believe I forget. It's because not the High Inquisitor. Um, I can't remember. But because of what Rocket was going through with him, you can tell Rocket made sure he put love and attention, made sure that Nebula was okay and safe, and she felt safe. So, like, seeing how that type of emotional bond built between them two, like, that was really great, man. Like, it showed you even one point when it was time for all of them to, made more sense to get off of and leave. Rocket just say, I'm done running, and turned around. And then each one, they just turned around and went with them. They didn't have to say nothing. And it showed you like they're that family, like they will die together. So Guardians of the Galaxy, man, I give it a 4.5 chains. Only reason I took half a chain off because they kind of revealed who's the next Guardian of the Galaxy squad going to be. And I felt like that would have been a greater cliffhanger. But other than that, great movie, man. Loved it. I'm probably going to have to watch a different Marvel movie next Sunday. I think every Sunday I'm going to just start doing movie reviews and just show you like, this is something else. If you want to start creating content, create content. If you feel like you're going through depression or life is just too much for you, this shows you something you can do also. Like, just go watch some movies and just enjoy. Like, don't let life hold you down. And so if you like this type of content, make sure you hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, make sure you do so you can get and hit the bell so you can get notified whenever I drop videos like this daily. And most importantly, just remember, I'm Jason, and success is simple once you know how.